Hey YouTube, this is Rob Lamb. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I wanted to talk to you about a very special property that I purchased that I'm really excited about. It's a property that I got for really no money down. I literally got it for free, and I can go over the details on how that works and the specific strategy, how I was able to get it through the CRM that I use, which is REI Reply, and all the juicy details. So stay tuned. Alright, I'm going to go into a little bit about the strategy. The reason why I was able to get this house for free is because in this case what I did is I bought the house by taking over the deed of the house. The loan of the house remained in the seller's name. This is an absentee owner who was in Virginia. It's a VA loan. He was ready to walk away. Now the house wasn't behind in any case. The mortgage was fine. He just was tired of dealing with the headaches, dealing with a property that was out of state for him, and he was worried about whether or not the tenant was going to make the payments. So he was motivated to actually get rid of this, not have to worry about making the payments anymore. So when I contacted the seller, we negotiated where I told him, look, his back was against the wall. He didn't have much equity in the house. Most of the other investors were actually lowballing him, and therefore he couldn't sell this house. And being where he is out of state, he couldn't make much money if he dealt with a realtor because there just wasn't much equity in the house. And I came along and I told him and gave him a solution where I can buy his house, take it off of his hands, where he doesn't have to make these mortgage payments anymore. So the way I was able to do that is to buy the house subject to the existing financing. So with the paperwork involved in that, the loan remains in his name, and all I do going forward is I just make those payments, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, so that I literally bought that house without putting any money down. And he was okay with that. He even volunteered that, as a matter of fact, because when we were talking over the phone, he's like, I don't need to get any money out of this. All I want is just to sell the house outright. And when I offered the solution where I can just buy it and it remains in his name, he was okay with that. Now, the mortgage in the house was pretty high. The mortgage was $1,875, almost $1,900, and the rent that he was getting was $1,650. So there was about a $300 difference that I told him, look, your mortgage is almost $1,900. Your rent payment coming in isn't enough to even cover those payments, and he kind of knew that. That's why he felt like he was bleeding. So, and when I talked to them about a solution, I was asking questions. I said, all right, if my mortgage is $1,900 and the rent is 16 something, I'm not making any cash flow. What can we do about this so that it would make sense for me to get involved and buy this house out of your hands and actually relieve you of this stress? Well, we're going back and forth, and I said, what if you could help out with the payment somehow so that it would cover the difference? And he started thinking about that, and I said, what about $300? If you would make up the difference of $300, would that solve your problem? And he sat there a little bit, thought about it, and he said, yeah, you know what? $300 is better than having to make that full payment, and as well as worrying about any other future issues that might come up. So the arrangement that we made is that I would pay the mortgage, and he would pay me every month $300 so that it would make up for the difference in the cash flow. That way I'm not underwater, and at least it can make the payments a wash. So I was good with that because there's about $25,000 in equity. If I sold it as a lease option or owner financing, I could always increase the amount of the purchase and gain even more equity in the back end. So that's why I was willing to take on this situation. As long as I'm not losing money, I can come in here break even on the property, and then when I sell the property, in the end, I'll still make a good chunk of money at the end. So anyway, come on, join me, and I'll show you what things look like in the back office on how I actually got this lead. All right, hey guys, I'm back in the office. I wanted to just go over a few things with you about this deal. Just real quick, this is the deal that I actually talked about in the testimonial. If you go to the REI Reply website, they have a testimonial that I provided, and that's right here. It's on their site, but I went straight to their YouTube channel. So anyway, that's my testimonial that I recorded for them, so you can check that out when you have time. I am very excited about the tool because it has been a game changer for my business. Without further ado, let me go right into the campaign that I had set up back when I first marketed to those absentee leads. So if you go into the marketing area of REI Reply, you can go into campaigns. And what I have here is a campaign that I was set up for absentee campaign, and I happen to call it top dollar campaign. You can have multiple kinds of wordings and stuff. And this one, I basically wanted to reach out to this absentee owner and say, hey, Bob, it's Rob. Just checking if you accepted the offer to purchase the property on 123 Main Street. I'm still interested. Notice that with this approach, I am actually approaching them saying, hey, did you accept the offer? Instead of just like a regular wholesaler, like, oh, I would like to buy your house. You want to sell. This comes to them from a different angle. Comes to them with a follow-up type of angle, and it actually works. And about a day later, I would kind of follow up with the person, say, oh, hope I got the right person. I tried reaching you yesterday about the offer to buy as is. Are you open to discuss? And you can change that around. I've been changing the wordings around as time went by, and I recommend you do the same as you experiment with different messages. Well, I loaded the list of absentee owners, and let me go into my contacts, for example. So I have many kinds of lists here, and like I have some absentee owners in different counties, and in this one I had the lead that I actually got the deal is Clark. So James Chester Clark. If we look into his record, you'll see here that he was actually in one of my lists for absentee in the Clay County, and he got my absentee campaign, which is the SMS messages. This showed that he replied. Okay, so these are just different tags that I put for this person. So look at what happened. Look how effective this was. So back in May, a text goes out to say, hey, James, just checking if you accepted my offer. And he responded quite quickly and said, I don't recall an offer. We don't want any out-of-pocket expenses. We have a renter there until April. We have a property manager contract for the same. And, he probably been contacted by a lot of wholesalers and other investors who probably, because he had so little equity, they were going to try to have him maybe put some money out of pocket, pay the closing costs, things like that. This was kind of like a canned message. He knew that he would try to scare people away. Look how he responded back to him. Sounds like a workable terms to me. Can I call you for a few minutes to see if we can do business together or not? So I immediately kind of had a change in mindset. He thought he might scare me off by saying that, oh, it's already rented and it's until April and we don't want any out of pocket. I'm like, no problem, because with the way that I buy houses and with this strategy of buying them subject to, I don't need to get them at deep discounts. I don't even need them with a lot of equity. So that's the power of this. This happens to have $25,000 in equity. And in another video, I want to tell you what a home run this deal actually was. But because it had about 25, 30,000 in equity, and I knew that I could sell it through lease option or through owner finance, I'm like, this is great for me. Anyway, the key right here is you want to call them anytime that you get a response back from them, always try to get them to be on the phone with you. It's very important. You don't just text people to death. It might work, but you're going to close a lot more deals if you actually get on the phone. And later that evening, we scheduled a call for the next day at 5 o'clock. And when you set up an appointment, by the way, you make sure that you are on time and you do what you say you're going to do. Because especially when you buy houses like this, trust is very important. And you want to be the guy who is dependable. When you say you're going to do something, you do it. And there wasn't any further text correspondence, as you can see here. We got on the phone and we chatted, negotiated, and I got the contract. We went to closing. It was very smooth. It was an awesome deal. So, yes, hundreds of SMS messages went out, but all you need is a couple of yeses like this, and you're good to go. So next, I wanted to show you the actual HUD statement of this property. And you'll see that we closed on this deal under my IRA. I put it under a New View IRA, and it was for the property in Orange Park. I got it for $273,000, which was the loan balance. I bought it for the loan balance, and there was 0 down payment on this property. Now, let me show you a few things in this HUD. You'll see here that my seller is paying me $300 here every single month. So for the July, which is the new month that we're now going to be closing, it was July 1st. We already included his $300 that goes towards my purchase. The seller paid out $300, and I paid all the closing costs, which included the insurance and some other costs, which is $3,671. That came out of my IRA. The reason why I added to that much is because it had a title search done, and some of the closing costs for Sunshine Title, I still have to pay title insurance. I always buy title insurance for my properties, a few recording fees, and I paid for the deed stamps for the transfer of the deed, and that's why it added up to that amount. So no, it wasn't totally free, but it was because the cost is for closing on the property. I could have actually done a tabletop closing and kitchen table closing, but I believe in closing for a few $1,000s. Buy a $300,000 house for $3,600 to me is worth it. I've got insurance on the property and all this, and this came out of my IRA, which I had the money in there. Which really, you could even use a credit card to buy this if you wanted to, or cash advance. So I would buy a house this any day of the week under a professional title company or a closing attorney. I recommend a closing attorney for most of these deals. I use Sunshine Title. I know the owners over there and stuff, so I went ahead and closed with them. So anyway, this is the closing statement, as you can tell here. All right. If you have any questions, you can drop it in the comments or let me know what you think. All right. I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope you got some good information out of this. If you need any help with setting up REI Reply, I'm here to help you. You can schedule a 30 to 60-minute appointment with me if you decide to join REI Reply with my link below in the description, and I'll be happy to go over some of the juicy ninja techniques that I have and share with you what it takes to be successful using the tool. All right, thank you and take care.